I have definitely done that myself. Hey, if I can't give my all, then I ain't giving nothing. But I showed up and I gave 100% of the 60% that I had. And the 60% return is the skill. That's the thing. Because the guy who shows up and gives his 60% gave 60% more than the guy who didn't show up because he couldn't give 100%. Welcome to DFW Grit. I'm Dr. James Taylor and I'm your host, and this is more than just a podcast. We dive into the stories of the movers, the shakers, the small business owners, the entrepreneurs right here in the DFW Metroplex. This is your home for authentic, real stories that prove what happens when you don't back down. Let's get to work. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of DFW Grit. As always, I'm your host, Dr. James Taylor. Today I want to tell you a secret, if you will. Well, it was a secret. It won't be for you. It was for me. It is for me no longer. The streak was never a thing. The streak was never the score. And now I say it was a secret. It is no longer. It'll become a secret to me again. I will have to learn this over and over again. I can tell you right now. I joke with my patients from time to time on how a while back, pre-COVID, once I took a week off from working out that lasted 6 months. That's the joke. So I like streaks. I like consecutiveness, if that's a thing, right? I like to be able to do things over and over again. I like to be able to repeat things. I feel like, obviously coming from a biased standpoint, I feel like capable men are somewhat obsessed with streaks. The unbroken chain, if you will. Because from my own personal, we'll say, lifestyle, or the lifestyle that I have lifed thus far, broken streaks seem like failure. It seems like quitting without the intention of quitting, almost like it was thrust upon you in a sense. I took about 2 weeks off from working out. Actually, 2.5 weeks. I took 2.5 weeks off from working out, with zero intent of even taking a single day. So my streak was broke. And in analyzing this and going through this, I've been keeping the wrong score. The score wasn't the streak. The score is the returns. So about 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, where were we? We were sitting at the end of school. Um, Obviously, everybody's life gets thrown into a tizzy around that time. We're looking at summer camps and stuff for kids. I was a month or so into, couple months into a brand new staff. And wonderfully enough, what do you do when you start if you got a vacation? Hey, is it cool if I take this day off? Yeah, absolutely. I don't want that to hold up this process of getting you on board. So the whole new staff, it just so happened that 2 out of the 3 girls that I hired, I had said, yeah, it's totally okay to take vacation on the exact same week. So we were a month and a half in, and just as we're hitting a groove, 2/3 of our office has to disappear. Um, so dealing with that, and then just dealing with the regular stresses of business ownership, entrepreneurship, things like that. I mean, it was a bit of a perfect storm in a sense. Um, so I slept in one day, and I slept in another day, and I slept in some more days. And like I said, this lasted for a good 2.5 weeks. It all kind of came to a head on Wednesday. Wednesday was rough. Wednesday was real rough. Just the stuff had been piling up, and I don't know how or why. Like the amount of times in the previous 2.5 weeks that I had set my alarm as I always set it, and that I got up and hit snooze. Now, if you've been following along with this for any length of time, I say I don't negotiate with myself. I negotiated the hell out of myself for 2.5 weeks. And I'll tell you what, that extra couple hours in the morning, that pillow, that blanket, they won. They had a they had a streak that was going really strong. But man, for some reason, Thursday I woke up and I went to the gym. and I did my morning pages. And in kind of, just brainstorming and prepping for this episode, I realized that the streak wasn't the thing. The streak wasn't the score. The comeback was. So what I wanted to do today is I want to talk about why the return is the score. Now, what this episode is not, right up front, not up front because I've been talking for a bit. This episode is not a January reset. This is not like, oh, you pissed away the first 5 months. This isn't that. This is a reframe. I want to talk about a scoreboard that we keep for a game that doesn't actually matter. That's what this is. Um, this is about the number of times that you've come back. I don't know if this was in a past episode, but I definitely said this to a patient recently who was talking about a hard time that they're either that they're in the middle of or that they foresee coming. If you're well enough to have a conversation with me or anybody else for that matter, shit, you're undefeated. If you are still alive on this earth and you decide you still continue to put one foot in front of the other time and time again, you are undefeated. You have been able to handle every every streak breaker, if you will, that life has thrown at you. So this is about the number of times you've come back this year and every other year, and a more honest measure of who you are than how you measure yourself on the days when those streaks break. So what I want you to do here with this episode is we're going to talk about scoring the returns and stop scoring the streak. So the streak was never the thing. I thought it was the thing. The streak was never the thing. And it was, shoot, it was probably by day 3 or day 4 where I was like, man, I really got to get up tomorrow. I've got to stop negotiating with myself. Like I said, this was 2.5 weeks. So this was, shoot, let's call it 18, maybe 20 days or so of me negotiating with myself. And the lie of the streak, the lie of the chain breaking. Because like I said earlier, I have viewed and I will view again, like when the chain breaks, it feels like a failure. I had this thing going and it stopped. And if it's going to be, it's up to me. I've said that a good number of times. But the broken streak felt like a verdict on my identity, if you will. I feel like I'm saying if you will a lot. But like that's, I'm the guy who gets up at 4 a.m. I'm the guy who works out early in the morning. I'm the guy who does the morning pages, right? Who does the journaling. I'm that guy. That's my identity. So to lose that, it felt like I was personally insulting myself. But what I need to understand and what I need to realize and reframe is it's literally it's just information. It's information about my week, or in this case, weeks. It was tough. It was physically draining, which is weird to say not going to the gym. It was emotionally draining. It was mentally draining. And sleep is a great place for that thing to repair itself. So think about it like this. A guy who has a 200-day streak and then quits and he breaks his worth feels less to himself than a guy who in the same 200 days has broken the streak, shoot, 12 different times, but he's returned every single time. A 200-day streak that just absolutely stops because you start to shit on yourself has a whole lot less value than a guy who can understand that streaks break, chains break, but still has the wherewithal, the chutzpah, if you will, to carry on and to start again. Because remember, a broken streak isn't the verdict. Shit, it might just be a Tuesday, right? It's just information. So the return, let's talk about that. I had a streak going. I was doing really well. And then I had a different streak of less than ideal performance. And the return, man, I didn't give 100%. So, like I said, I had 2 weeks of just dealing with a bunch of stuff, right? home stuff, kids stuff, wife stuff, business stuff, office stuff, staff stuff, stuff, right? You got stuff. I had some stuff, and it all needed me all at the same time. And we talk about, this time of year, the schedule just goes to pot, and which is rough for me because I'm a guy who likes schedules. I like to know what's going to happen next. And on Wednesday night, I came home to an empty house because my schedule was off. I did not I did not internalize the schedule that I thought was going to happen, because it didn't match the one that did happen. And shoot, man, I don't know why, but for some reason, coming home to an empty house wrecked me. Absolutely wrecked me. And even when I verified, like, oh yeah, the kids were going to be here. Tamika was going to be doing this. She had this stuff going on. Man, I sat there in this feeling of this empty house. And I mean, I've come home before and people have been gone and things have been going on. I don't know why this particular time, like, it was hard. It was really hard sitting in an empty house. So much so that I made 3 different phone calls. I I called a friend that I hadn't spoken to in probably about 2 years because I thought he could help, and he did. He gave me time out of his day. I kind of suspect he was watching the NBA finals, because that's what he told me on a couple of occasions on our phone call to help get my mind off it. Watch the finals. Sorry, am I pulling you from something? Shoot, I sent a text out to another guy. That text wasn't responded. And I'm not saying that to demean the man. He probably had his own stuff going on. And then there's another guy I reached out to. I just met him 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, hey, yeah, dude, I'm sad, like, and I can't shake it. And he sat there and he talked with me for a bit, and it was awesome. I cannot thank him enough. Um, but it was weird, like, because like I said, I've come home to an empty house before. So I went to sleep, and this was on a Wednesday, and then on Thursday my alarm goes off, and I woke up and I went to the gym for the first time in 2.5 weeks. Now, this was a Thursday. Thursday is supposed to be my CrossFit day. CrossFit is difficult. Um, I didn't go to CrossFit. I just went to the gym. I did the good old fashioned 3 sets of 10 in front of a mirror, lifting some weights, picking heavy shit up, putting it back down, gym. And even in doing that, like, I went right back into my workout routine. And I looked at the weights that were on there from what I did before. I didn't do those weights. I dropped stuff down a bit. And it was I've heard this before. And I thought, yeah, that's a real nice little talking point. But I lived it Thursday morning. I told myself throughout my workout over and over that, hey, I'm only given 60% today, but I am giving 100% of that 60%. And I did. I did everything at probably about 60%. I'll tell you now, I shaved a couple reps off. Not every rep scheme made it to 10. But even that, I left I left the gym feeling better. I did the thing, right? I did, I preserved, or no, I returned to my identity, the 4 a.m. workout guy. I mean, if 60% is all you got and you give 100% of that 60%, like I said, it's a good day. And now why that matters though is because most men, and I'm including myself in this most men thing, won't return until they're able to give 100%. I have definitely done that myself. Hey, if I can't give my all, then I ain't giving nothing. But I showed up and I gave 100% of the 60% that I had. And the 60% return is the skill. That's the thing. Because the guy who shows up and gives his 60% gave 60% more than the guy who didn't show up because he couldn't give 100%. The guy who waits until he can give 100% on Monday, he's still gone, right? So you tell yourself you come back when you can do it right. You won't. I didn't. You'll come back when you stop demanding it be perfect. When you stop demanding that it be 100%. Action, my friends, is the seed. That's really what it is. Return to one thing that you've dropped. Let's start there. Because we all got things that we tell ourselves we got to get back to, we got to get back into. If you're listening to this, figure out what one of those one things is and go back to it, even if it's going back at only 60%, or hell, even 40%. I mean, show up bad, show up tired, show up half, but just show up, because that in and of itself is gaining more ground than any ground that you have lost thus far. Because if you haven't shown up, you haven't done nothing. A 60% return is the standard, not the 100% restart. So, like I said, like we had a bunch of stuff going on. It was that time of year, if you will. Just it's been raining every damn day here in Texas. Every day we get some rain, and when you run a business where people have to show up to, but you live in a state where people don't like to drive on wet roads, that will drain on you too. We had a bunch of stuff going on, and it came down to leadership in the office, leadership in the home, and leadership of myself. Because whether it's personally or professionally, if you're waiting until you're ready, you're just going to keep waiting. Leadership is return at scale, if you will. Because if you can't return to your own standards, you can't raise the standards of the team, whether it's the team in the office or the team at home. You got to be able to give 60% at least to yourself before you can give it to anybody else. So let's connect this whole thing. I don't want you to count the streak anymore. I say that both enough for you and for myself. I want you to count the returns, because the streak was never a thing. Now, reminder, the return does not have to be at 100%, because the same skill that gets you back into the gym, the same skill that restarts the streak, that's the same skill that you bring home. That's the same skill you bring to the office. The next thing, most capable men have a counting problem. They count days, consecutive stuff, they count the streaks. The men who last count something different. They count the returns. So, like I said, I want you to start counting the returns. Start counting your comebacks. So for this week, for your actions, like I said before, each one of these solo episodes, I've got something to help you with your actions. Go to www.dfwgrit.com, download the field manual, and it'll go hand in hand with each one of these episodes. So, number one action for this week, stop counting one streak. Don't stop the streak, and there'll probably be a little voice in the back of your head that continues counting. But do it just because you said you're going to do it. Don't do it because you've done it for 200 days in a row already. Pick one streak you've been counting and stop it. Replace the count with, did I return this week? Yes or no? Number two, if you're trying to return. Return at 60%. Return at 40%. Just go to the parking lot of the gym or the place or the thing. But return at something less than 100%. Like I said, if you're waiting for yourself to be ready, you're going to be waiting for a while. Number three, step into one place that you've been waiting. Personally, professionally, whether it be a workout that you've been deferring or a conversation that you've been putting off with a team member or a spouse or whatever. Hell, a bedtime routine with the kids. We slipped on that too. There's one night the kids didn't go to bed till 10. Whoops. Now, the following day, Calvin slept until 9:30, which is insane for him. But return to one thing that you've been waiting on. So, remember, we're not scoring the streak anymore. We're scoring the returns. Because basically what happens is if you're scoring the streak and you fail at the streak, and then you start to fail at the return, the fact of the matter is it's not a discipline problem. That's how I would frame it to myself. We don't have a discipline problem. We have a counting problem. Hell, we have a fear problem that's disguised as discipline. A man who keeps coming back, even at 60%, is building something that lasts. A man who's waiting for the perfect restart is not. So just restart. So, like I said, we've got the field manual. I want you to go in there, download it, and make it pertain to yourself. But the biggest thing you can do right now, just make a comeback at whatever percent that you have going for you right now. Because, like I said, you are undefeated. If you are here listening to this, if you are able to take this in, if you are of this earth, you are absolutely undefeated. You have taken everything life has thrown at you and continued on. Congratulations. That's awesome. I'm very proud of you. And when you start whatever that thing is that you've been putting off, when you start that tomorrow, I'm proud of you for that too. As always, you guys, please like, share, follow DFW Grit. My job is to hope that you learn more here by accident than elsewhere by design. If you want to be on, like I said, slide into our DMs. We're always scheduling interviews, but I'll catch you on the next episode of DFW Grit. You guys have a great rest of your day.